everyone, and welcome back. We are jumping right into our next part of the Jock Scientist. You're in the talk of Jock Scientist, so let's just get started.
So many people in the fitness industry will tell you that they don't gatekeep fitness, and then they gatekeep fitness. But this is a new level. Equinox Gyms decides to temporarily stop accepting membership applications on New Year's Day. The campaign is "We don't speak January. It's a lifestyle. It's not a resolution." First of all, you should know the closest Equinox gym is over an hour away from me, so I had no interest in joining it in the first place. The dog in this fight is that I work in the fitness industry and I'm actively trying to undo all of the gatekeeping that the industry does. But given that I have worked in this industry for over a decade and I've met many a resolutioner, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the majority of them not wanting to spend $200 to $500 a month to join your luxury gym. And you know what? If you can afford a high-end gym such as this, you should be able to join it regardless of what time of year it is. This campaign is just so fucking weird because I've already seen all your fees. I know you don't want me there. Literal celebrities work out at Equinox. I know I can't sit with you. If it feels like a cult.
So the last part says, if it feels like a cult, she probably follows that up with it probably is a cult. But, I don't think this is a cult. I think this is a marketing campaign as everything. Like, I don't really understand the thought process of if you can afford to have a membership to a gym, you should be able to get it any time of year. Like it's a marketing campaign, and they don't owe you the acceptance of your membership. Is it a poor business decision? That's definitely arguable. But like, I don't know. I don't think that you're owed the ability to buy a high-end gym membership, but whatever. And then she turns it into this, I know you don't want, like, she turns it into something personal for herself, which is kind of weird. I think it's just to make an overall point that it is an exclusive gym membership, but she almost seemed bothered by it. But I don't really have anything more to say on that.
What do y'all want? And I know Steven Crowder is low-hanging fruit because he is really just a pile of cockroaches, centipedes, and spiders in a skin suit. No offense to those bugs. But this is also not a take or opinion that's unique to him, by any means. So y'all have categorized fat people unequivocally as unhealthy, lazy, they never exercise, they overeat, and they eat the wrong foods, they emotionally eat, they have no self-control, blah, 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 blah. But when you see fat bodies literally doing the opposite of those things, you're still mad. I can only classify shit like this as like whatever the opposite of a virtue signal is, like a depravity signal, right? You are signaling out to others like, hey, if you're shitty, you can come be shitty with me. But let this be a lesson to all of the people out there really trying to embrace body acceptance and neutrality. Regardless of what you look like or what you do, these people are going to continue to exist. And at their core, they are really all just wimpy, pathetic little losers dying for attention.
So, I'm not a fan of Steven Crowder either. But I will say that to a certain extent, I understand the criticism here in that a lot of the advertisements and stuff try to put these obese individuals as still being healthy by doing yoga. Like, yoga tends to be the default, and they're definitely flexible. They definitely have healthy qualities to them. But being able to do advanced yoga poses is not necessarily indicative of health. And the weight, especially those that are obese or morbidly obese, have more issues going on than yoga can fix. Does that mean they should be shit on? No. But I understand the frustration of message that's trying to be sent out that like the obese and morbidly obese are healthy because they could do yoga. Like I don't see many and maybe that's changed over the past because was about a year ago. Over the past year, there might have been other. I don't watch ads at all. I have ad blockers everywhere, and I don't watch traditional TV. So maybe I've just missed it, but I haven't seen someone in like this with this body type doing a run or doing weightlifting in those sorts of ads. It's always yoga. So I understand the criticism there.
Is better than a potato chip.
No, it's not. No. Honestly, if I was eating a plate of baby carrots covered in lemon juice, I would be convincing myself that they are potato chips too. And I'm not saying you can't eat them. Eat whatever you want. But don't come onto the internet and lie to my face. Go lie to your mother.
Is better.
Okay, I actually kind of agree with her here. And I think this is one of the reasons why people struggle with weight loss is because we try to act like these healthy alternatives are just as good as the like fatty options, and they're not. That whatever baby carrot thing she had going on could be a very good snack. It could be a salty snack. It could be like an alternative to potato chips, but that doesn't mean they're as good as potato chips. It's one of those. This is one thing where I actually agree with the Jock scientist. Let's not pretend that the diet versions are just as tasty. They have their own merits and they can still be very good. But I think comparing them to full fat and full salt and unhealthy alternatives is unhelpful on a couple of different levels. Like, I think that it creates false expectations for those that are trying to lose weight, when in reality, you kind of just have to give your taste buds time to adjust. Because once your taste buds adjust to healthier food, the unhealthy food doesn't taste as good as it used to. And you may even prefer the carrots with whatever she had going on there. You may very well grow to just prefer that to potato chips. But that doesn't mean that someone coming into it from an unhealthy diet perspective, eating potato chips, loving potato chips, is going to find the carrots as a suitable alternative. And presenting them as they're just as good as potato chips is unhelpful and a bit of false advertising for the majority of people. So uh, this is one thing where I do agree with the Jock scientist on.
If 12-3-30 is feeling a little too intense for you, let me show you a different treadmill workout that you can do that's still going to get your heart rate going. Personal safety and equipment advice: always stand on those side rails before you actually step onto the machine, and we're going to warm up for 2 minutes at a slow walking pace, 0% incline. Once you've walked for a few minutes, let's do some ankle rolls, some calf raises, and some high knee marching. You're going to do this for about 30 seconds for each of them. Hello, hello. Let's go ahead and swing those legs slowly to open up the hips. Again, 30 seconds on these. Don't skip your warm-up, friends. I promise you, you need it. Let's start our workout. Pick a brisk pace that is comfortable for you to maintain and start at 1% incline. Now stair step it up. 2 minutes, 2%, 3 minutes, 3%, 4 minutes, 4%, 9 minutes, 9%. And this is about when I start to get really gassed. Here's the halfway point. This is the highest my treadmill will go, and then you'll walk it down for each minute. We did it! Now you can cool down for a few minutes and wipe off your machine, Dan. If 12...
So for someone who says they work in the fitness industry, I'm surprised that she didn't like talk about the safety part of the treadmill key. So that little red thing at the front of the treadmill, and this is like, I don't have a problem necessarily with her workout. There's 1,000 different ways to do a workout. If this works for you, that's great. But as someone who says that they work in the fitness industry and they're very anti-gym bro and they're always about like safety and good like the she has joyful movement on here and stuff and making it accessible and all of that, all good things. But one of the things of making it accessible is making it safe. Now, I say this as someone who never does this myself because I'm comfortable on the treadmill. I've been on the treadmill since I was a kid, and it's not something that I like to do. If you're new, though, it's a good idea, especially if you're not used to walking on the treadmill. And that's that little red key thing that has the string attached to it. The other end of that is supposed to be clipped onto your waistband. And the reason for that is if you end up going too fast, or maybe you hit a wrong button and it speeds up too fast, and you fall, the string that's connected to your waistband is supposed to pull that key out to stop the treadmill. So that way you don't end up hitting the treadmill and the treadmill keeps going at that fast speed. Just something I wanted to put out there because she didn't do it. But that's what that's for. That's something I actually learned in my physical therapy. They required me to always have that attached to my waistband, even though I wasn't really going that fast when I was walking. But it was a safety regulation that they required. So just wanted to throw that out there.
I make all the girls that I bring home walk through this because if they don't fit through this...
Oh, lighten up. It's just a joke. He's just kidding. Obviously, he doesn't bring home any girls. Duh. Y'all, I just saw him on live, and he works at a smoke shop. I wish I could write comedy that good.
I make all...
I actually don't have a problem with this video because I do think that this is kind of bullshit and this is dehumanizing. To be like, all the girls that I bring home have to go through this basically fat test. It's like, if you thought that they were attractive enough to bring home, why the fuck are you testing them? Don't be a dick. You're you're not like a big prize, dude. Like I understand her here.
Loving yourself means discipline. Not only should you have discipline in what you eat and how often that you exercise, but be disciplined in your thoughts.
January is a very potent time for diet culture, and as a result, I think people feel emboldened to say a lot of the thoughts that they typically wouldn't. Now, thankfully, that particular video is seeing the justice that it so deserves. But there's another video that spawned that one that has the same energy but is getting nothing but support.
It's not fat phobic to care about your health. And if nobody else wants to say it, let me fucking tell you the truth.
Now, to me, those videos have the same exact takeaway message. Let me just quick sidebar that it always makes me laugh on those videos where they're like, I'm going to tell it to you real. I'm going to say what they're not saying. Girl, literally everybody says that. But I digress. That second video is a very long-winded way of saying body positivity is telling you it's okay to be unhealthy, which is not only false and completely forgetting the entire history of the movement, boiling it down to things as trivial as beauty and clothing, it opens the door to videos like the first one. Because when thin people see a fat person shaming other fat people, they're like, see, I told you. I knew I was right. I told you. And honestly, I blame so much of the misconception of the root of body positivity for the fact that it has been co-opted by a certain demographic of people, rather than understanding that at its root, it is about respect and dignity regardless of your body size. It is the recognition that there is a social hierarchy of bodies that exist, and larger bodies are at the bottom of it. If anything, body positivity empowers people.
I'm sorry, that still bugs the shit out of me. There's a body hierarchy and fat bodies are at the bottom of it. I'm sorry. I think that there's other people with other body issues unrelated to weight that probably have a harder time in the dating realm, have a harder time being treated just as a person than fat people. Like this is the thing with the fat acceptance movement that pisses me off, is that they act like being fat is the hardest thing anyone in the world can do. It irritates the shit out of me. And since I paused it, there's still like 45 seconds left and we'll watch it. But I do just want to chime in where I don't understand how caring about your health is not fat phobic is an issue. And the whole thing about loving yourself, requiring discipline is true. It is true. It takes to practice self-love does require a level of discipline, and self-love can be brushing your teeth, bathing regularly, eating healthy food, watching your weight to an extent can fall under self-care and loving yourself. So I don't think that they are wrong in that way. Do I think people that don't do those things should be demonized? Not necessarily. I would even say no, not at all. Because my issue isn't the people that struggle with weight loss. My issue isn't the people that struggle with brushing their teeth or taking care of themselves or practicing. I don't have any issues with any of those people. I have an issue with the people that say, I don't do these acts. And people that do them are oppressive against another group. Honestly, saying that intentional weight loss is fat phobic is like saying brushing your teeth is ableist. Some people with like major depressive disorders can struggle to remember to brush their teeth or to brush their teeth consistently. That doesn't make it ableist to brush your teeth. Same thing can go with weight loss. There are some people that struggle with weight loss. They struggle with the consistency of habits required to reach weight loss. That doesn't mean that it's fat phobic to lose weight.
People to take better care of themselves in a way that diet culture never fucking could dream to do. Because riddle me this, both of you. What happens if there is a fat person who's doing all of the things to take care of the health that you say that they're supposed to do, and they're still fat? Then what?
That wouldn't happen, though. That's the thing, is that you can say that they're doing all of this and they're still fat, then they aren't doing it the way that they think they are. That either aren't counting their calories and moderating how much food they're taking in, or they're not exercising regularly. There is no mystical body. Like, I mean, I guess there might be, but it's like a 0.01% of the population that most of these people will not fit into.
The first video doesn't surprise me. The second video deeply disappoints me. Both of their messages domino into one another, making people feel comfortable in saying shit like this. If you're gonna rag on a social movement, at least do us the decency of researching what it was actually rooted in.
Except what you guys are trying to say that it was rooted in and what it was actually rooted in are two different things, but I so don't have the energy to get into that argument right now. And let's see if there it is. So the comment she said, when they say that they can say shit like this, it says true if they die because they are fat and completely neglected it, I truly wouldn't give a single fuck. Unnecessary comment, yes, but I don't think that it was horrible to say. I think that there's an over expectation of everyone to give a shit about everyone else when everyone's trying to survive. Like, I don't care what you do, you don't care what I do. And yes, if you die because you're fat and you neglected your health, I'm not necessarily going to give a shit. But let's move on.
Fun fact, the H in HAES actually stands for health. I know it can be very confusing. It's the wild notion that you can pursue health-promoting behaviors without being a certain size.
So the comment says, this whole haze movement is bonkers. Holy crap, I've just found all of this. Wow, so you all really think that health isn't a choice or a state of mind.
Or needing to achieve a certain size. Happy to help. The part that so many of you miss, though, is that your health is not guaranteed. And yes, there are elements of personal responsibility and choice, just like anything else we opt to do with our lives. Drink that gallon of water a day, eat clean, have the most rigorous workout routine, but if your family has a strong genetic component of chronic illness or cancer, I don't know that those things are going to stop it. That rigorous workout routine...
Okay, I don't like that because genetically speaking, my family has a strong chance of diabetes and cancer, especially breast cancer. We don't have the gene, but that's something that does cross my mind, especially after the age of 50. I probably have a higher disposition of chance of getting type 2 diabetes or cancer. That does not mean that I should not practice healthy habits in order to reduce my risk. This is one of those things where it's like Jeanette, it's like she's like, you're gonna get it anyway, so what's the point of even trying? And I fucking hate that mentality. Even let's say, like, knock on wood, but let's say I'm destined to get type 2 diabetes. I could get it now at 32, or through healthy habits and stuff, I could stave that off until I'm 70, which is better. Like, even if you have a strong genetic component, and let's say you're basically guaranteed to get whatever illness or whatever issue, that doesn't mean that you're destined to get it at a young age. Even if you are destined to get, let's pretend you are just destined, you are, at some point in your life, you are going to get XYZ. But with healthy habits, you can delay that onset. Wouldn't you want to take care of that then? Wouldn't you want to work on losing weight and being healthy and stuff to stave off? Like, it's not they act like it's an all or nothing, like it's an on-off switch, when really it's more of a dimmer switch, in terms of when you'll get it or at what severity.
You're doing in your 20s may land you with arthritis in your 50s. And I won't even get into the social determinants of health, but there are endless extrinsic factors that come into play here too.
Doesn't mean that you can't control what's within your ability to control. Doesn't mean that you should just throw up your hands and say, well, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want. Like, yeah, some of the things that you're doing in your 20s and 30s could lead to arthritis in your 50s and 60s, but you could also get through, like, let's say that you are a super morbidly obese teenager and you just kind of stay that way and you make no effort throughout your 20s, and so by 35 you have arthritis. Like, it's one of those things where help should still be given and the focus should still be on healthy weight and healthy eating. Because, once again, yeah, as you get older, you might still have these health issues, as happens with when you get older, but what older is can be pushed back.
An exercise physiologist. I want people to pursue health. But put that shit into perspective. Health means a million different things to a million different people, is a privilege to pursue, and doesn't make you a better person if you do pursue it.
Again, we're getting into the moral argument that I so get tired of arguing, so we're just going to move on.
Do not listen to women when they say that they like dad bods. Absolute bullshit.
Listen to me, a man with no shirt on. I know way more about women than women. You know, I have been thinking about this a lot recently, especially after the big boy trend that was just not that long ago. All these dudes coming out being like, that's not what they want. They're lying. They don't want, I'm a fat guy and they don't want me. You all get each other all worked up and you're like, yeah, I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to drop all my body fat, get super shredded. Then I'll get so many bitches. Then you have these hordes of gym bros, and you know exactly who I'm talking about, who still don't have women, who are still single and massively degrading toward women. Surprise, it was never your body, it was always your rancid personality. It's the fact that you're doing a bunch of weightlifting and no therapy and emotional lifting. Just non-existent. If we take the term dad bod literally at its face value, that guy has literal proof that he fucks, and you still don't. And you think it's about bodies? God, that's so embarrassing.
I kind of agree with her here in that, like, this whole, like, do not listen to women, just as men have a variety of tastes, so do women. So there's a whole subset of women that like the dad bod, that like the kind of, they don't necessarily want, not every person, not every woman wants a gym bro, because gym bros can be rather high maintenance. So, like the dad bod, where it's more of a down to earth guy, and yeah, he's a little pudgy, but it's not like a fat guy. It's not the same thing. Might be what more women are attracted to. And I do think that she has a point of, like, your personality can put off women more than your body. Like, if you're a misogynistic asshole, or you're like this guy who's just plain says, do not listen to women, and I understand that he's talking about, when they say that they like something, that's whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't like that. I don't like leading with that. And that would put me off too. Like, in general, the more condescending that you are when you're talking about women, the more likely women are going to avoid you.
The best thing you can do, sorry for pointing, is eat and move on with the rest of your day.
Whenever the topic of intuitive eating comes up, so many people immediately respond with, like, I wish I could do that, but I can't trust myself around food. I can't do intuitive eating. That's diet culture talking. That is all of the diet culture talk that has been shoved into our precious brain meat for years. Hunger cues are innate. That's natural. You are born with them. You can't trust.
Okay, blah. One, I don't think that's just diet culture. And two, you saying that hunger cues are innate and they can have. So here's the thing, people can feel hungry when they're bored. The brain isn't perfect, but on top of that, there are so many weird additives in our food, especially in American food, that can fuck with certain hormone secretions that signal when you're full or when you're hungry. It can fuck with those. So, no, intuitive eating, depending on where you are and depending on your history and stuff, is not necessarily possible for everyone. And the interpretation of what intuitive eating is, because you're talking about hunger cues, but there are some people that say that intuitive eating is also giving in to every craving, which isn't helpful either. There was the one woman, this was, God, close to when I began my channel, I don't remember if I even covered this, that said that she had serious cravings for fast food, and so everyone in the intuitive eating sphere was telling her to eat the fast food because eventually her body will get sick of it and then she'll be able to reset. But it's been 2 years. She's going broke from how much fast food she's buying. She's gained 70 pounds. And she still craves fast food. Because there's additives, there's addictive, the hyper palatable engineered food is meant to fuck with your hunger cues. It's meant to fuck with what you crave. If we all lived off, like, food that you can only grow on a farm and meat that you can only get from working on a farm, and we had the exercise of farm work and all of that shit, then that, yeah, you can probably just focus more on intuitive eating that way. But that's not how we live. especially in the US, there's so many additives in our food, and the engineering of hyperpalatable food is just insane.
Something that's natural? The reality is, as someone that has been on an intuitive eating journey for 3 years and in ED recovery for 4, yeah, I did gain weight. It also stabilized and I stopped gaining weight, and I just kind of stay at the same body size now. And that journey also included confronting the parts of my brain that constantly say weight gain is a failure and say, why? How can it possibly be a bad thing when all of your other health markers have either stayed the same or improved, including your mental health? Do you know how it clicked for me? When I finally asked myself if I want to spend my limited time on this spinning rock, being constantly concerned about my pant size and the calorie counts and things.
You can want to lose weight and not be obsessed with it. That's one of the things that Fat Acceptance says a lot that I think is just insane. It's like, if you're obsessive with it, then that's a you issue that you should probably talk to a therapist about something. Not everyone is that way. But also, it worked out for you. You said you gained weight and then you stopped and everything stabilized. That's great for you. Not everyone has that regulatory system. And depending on, like, everyone has a different starting point. If your starting point is 600 pounds, because Jock Scientist said in a previous one that she's been 100 pounds heavier than she is and she's been 60 pounds lighter. Well, there are some people that are 400 pounds heavier than you at your heaviest. Their hunger cues are going to be majorly fucked up, and their ability to determine when they're full and stuff is probably also going to be fucked up. There's also this sense of people that eat to deal with emotional issues, because that can create its own odd sense of hunger in the body. Like, there's just so many issues that I hate this blanket recommendation of intuitive eating. It's bullshit.
The primary guiding principle with intuitive eating is that you are following your body's natural hunger cues. This can feel like a massive barrier if you are someone who doesn't feel hunger cues naturally, which is...
So, the comment says, I'm curious about intuitive eating and neurodivergence. I struggle with interoception. What can someone do to perhaps learn that more? And I'm gonna let her continue, but right now she's talking about people that struggle to have hunger cues. But what about people who have overactive hunger cues is my question. But we'll stop and listen.
Something that occurs in many neurodivergent individuals. But the good and correct way to practice intuitive eating is a guidebook, not a rule book. Diet culture is rule books. Think about keto, think about intermittent fasting. Those are hard and fast rules. Intuitive eating should be...
Actually, there's plenty of communities that have staggered steps if you're trying to get into keto or if you're trying to get into intermittent fasting. Like, yes, there are, like, you have to be doing X, Y, for it to be considered that, but there are plenty of people that have varying steps of those and still consider it either intermittent fasting or keto. So, like, it kind of depends on where you're circling on the internet, but that just goes to show that you aren't even in those spaces. Personally, I think keto is extreme regardless. It doesn't work for me. But if it works for some people, that's great for them. Intermittent fasting, I have to admit, I wouldn't mind being a little bit more into, but right now my biggest concern more is just to reduce snacking. And whether that lines up with intermittent fasting or not, I'm not terribly concerned about. Mostly because I don't like following other people's plans and other people's regimens so much. I kind of mix and match based on what works for me, and I think that, at least for me, that's the best way to do it. But let's go ahead and hear what else she has to say.
Flexed to the individual. If you struggle to feel your natural hunger cues, set alarms for yourself so that you are eating at regular intervals and not going hours and hours and hours and not eating. If you have sensory issues...
Okay, my question is, though, is that if you're setting, like, you just said guidebook, not rule book. You said, but doesn't that go against the very thought of intuitive eating if you're setting timers to eat at regular intervals and not listening to your body's natural hunger cues? That's confusing to me.
With food, it is recognizing what they are and accepting that that's okay, and finding alternatives or just sticking with your safe foods. If you emotionally eat, it is understanding where that is coming from, recognizing that it's okay to do that, and moving on when you do it. Intuitive eating is not necessarily a diet, it is a skill that you build. It's going to take time, practice, and a lot of compassion with yourself, but it's going to look different for everyone. The primary...
So that can be said given that you are even going against the general idea of intuitive eating by setting regular like timers for yourself, if we're gonna go that loosey goosey with definitions, that the same thing can happen with keto and intermittent fasting as well. But I digress on that. I'm not gonna go into that anymore. But I don't know, like this lionization of intuitive eating as a paragon of natural eating and the proper way to eat is just, it bugs me because it's like you're just as bad as the gym bros. You're just as bad as the people that lionize keto and intermittent fasting. You're just as bad because you're still promoting this thing that may not work for everyone as though it will work for everyone. And just from your suggestion itself, it shows that it doesn't work for everyone. And if intuitive eating doesn't work for people with neurodivergence that maybe don't get hungry or don't recognize their hunger on a regular basis, then maybe it doesn't work for the morbidly obese that always want to eat. Just an idea. And if some people, and if you, in your opinion, some people should set timers to eat at regular intervals, then maybe there's some people that should set timers to not eat as often. Like, it's one of those, if it works one way, it has to work the other in order for it to make sense. You know? That's where I'm going to stop with the Jock scientist. I'm going to go ahead and talk just a little bit more about a couple of those manhwas that I'm reading because there's been a bunch of good ones. So, like, I Hold the Tyrant's Heart, toxic as fuck relationship dynamic. He made a deal with the devil. He's obsessed with her. He's been obsessed with her since they were kids and completely altered his body and killed people for it. Like, but I can't deny it's an entertaining read for sure. And then How to Reject My Obsessive Ex-Husband. This one's a bit more interesting because the relationship dynamic is still a bit toxic, but for different reasons because they seem to have two completely different interpretations of their relationship. And he is like obsessed and in love with her, and she's like, "You ignored me all the time in our previous life." Except for her, it's a previous life, and for him, he just went back in time because he's in the same realm that he was when he was alive the first time and traveled to our world, except it isn't our world because there's magic related to it. It's interesting. There's only like 14 chapters up. I can't wait to see more of what's going on with this one because I'm like, where is the breakdown in communication happening? That's where I am with this. Where's the breakdown in communication happening, and why do they have such different, massively different interpretations of their relationship? You know? But yeah. Um not much else to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the double posting this week. And next week I'm hoping to promote something that I have on, like, the first thing I posted on my Etsy shop. Uh it's just a recipe, and I want to practice creating coupons, like a coupon code. So I'll probably have something like that for you guys next week. If you are interested in supporting the channel like that. But regardless, thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.